Now remember, the stress doesn't mean that you're doing life wrong. It means life is asking more of you than your current system can support. But keep in mind that systems can be strengthened. So the next time stress knocks you sideways, remember that you're not failing the test. You're learning what the test is made of. And that is where real mastery begins. Welcome to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, where we explore the keys to unlocking your full potential and living your best life. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. Whether you're looking to make a breakthrough, overcome a challenge, or simply live with greater clarity, joy, and purpose, you'll find the tools and inspirations you need right here. So let's start your journey towards personal mastery and growth right now. Welcome back to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, your go-to resource for practical tips, insightful research, and inspiring stories to help you unlock your full potential. I'm your host, Jose Johnson, and I'm an expert in the fields of mindfulness, mindset, and peak performance, and I am so thrilled to have you here with me today. And today, we're kicking off a brand new series called the Real Life Stress Test, because mindset isn't revealed when life is calm. It's revealed when life applies pressure. Have you ever noticed how calm, grounded, and emotionally intelligent you are? Until you're not. Now, you know what I mean. You've done all the work. You've read all the books. You know how you should respond, and then stress hits. Maybe it's a deadline, a difficult conversation, a health scare, a financial curveball, a commitment that lands just a little bit wrong. And suddenly, that centered version of you disappears, like a monk who forgot their vows in rush hour traffic. But here's the good news, and this absolutely matters. That doesn't mean that your mindset is broken. It just means your mindset is being stress tested. And in this episode, we're going to dismantle one of the most damaging myths in personal growth, that if you really had a strong mindset, stress wouldn't knock you off center. Spoiler alert, that's not how the brain works. So let's talk about the myth that creates shame. And let's name that myth right away. If I were more evolved, more disciplined, more mindful, I wouldn't react like this. Now, that belief creates a quiet but powerful shame loop. You feel stressed, you react. Then you judge yourself for reacting. Now, you're just stressed about being stressed. That's like trying to put out a fire by throwing gasoline-labeled self-criticism on it. So here's the reframe. Stress doesn't expose weakness. Stress exposes conditioning. And conditioning is not a moral failure. It's just biology. So here's the truth. Stress doesn't change you. It amplifies you. So just think of stress like a volume knob. When life is calm, the music is playing quietly in the background. But when stress hits, the volume gets cranked up to 11. Whatever was already there just gets louder. Beliefs, habits, emotional reflexes. That's why under stress, patient people become abrupt. High achievers become controlling. Helpers become resentful. Logical thinkers become rigid. Not because they're failing, but because the system has shifted from growth mode to survival mode. So let's examine the brain under pressure. Your brain has two primary operating modes. One is about learning, reasoning, empathy, and choice. The other is about safety and survival. When stress is low, you have access to perspective. You can pause, you can respond. But when stress spikes, your brain asks one urgent question. Is this a threat? And here's the thing. If the answer is maybe, the brain doesn't wait. It acts as if it is. That's when emotional reactivity increases. Perspective narrows. Past experiences, well, they rush forward. Logic gets quieter, which is why telling yourself to just calm down rarely works. You're trying to negotiate with a smoke alarm. So why does intention collapse under pressure? Well, here's a line worth sitting with. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your conditioning. Intentions live in calm moments. Conditioning shows up under pressure. That's why you intended to be patient, but then you snapped. You intended to speak up, but you go silent. You intend to set boundaries, but you overextend. That's not hypocrisy. That's neurobiology. Under stress, the brain defaults to what is familiar, practiced, emotionally charged, which is why mindset work that ignores stress is actually incomplete. All right, so let's talk about the prediction problem. Your brain is not a truth machine. It's a prediction machine. It's constantly asking, what's about to happen? What do I need to protect? What worked last time? Now, under stress, those predictions, well, they become faster and they become less accurate. They become more biased towards danger. And that is why neutral emails can feel hostile, why silence can feel like rejection, why feedback feels like an attack. Your brain fills in gaps with old stories, and those stories, well, they feel like facts. So why can't you think your way out of stress? This is where high performers get stuck. They try to outthink stress. They analyze it, explain it, rationalize it. But stress isn't a thinking problem. It's a state problem. If your nervous system is activated, your thoughts follow that state. You can't reason your way out of a physiological alarm any more than you can calm a thunderstorm by explaining the forecast. Hey there, feeling stuck? Spinning your wheels? Are you ready for a breakthrough? Well, then you need to hear this because I've got something that will supercharge your growth this year, and it's called The Mindset Makeover. Now, it's my new book and course that are designed to help you upgrade the mental software that drives your success. And inside, you're going to discover the mindsets that shape every decision, every habit, and every result. And you'll learn the science-backed tools to rewire your thinking for clarity, confidence, and unstoppable momentum. So whether you're aiming higher, trying to break free from old patterns, or finally stepping into that version of yourself that you know that you're capable of becoming, well, this is your launch pad. So don't wait. Head over to josejohnson.com/mindset to grab the book, join the course, or get both together. Again, that's josejohnson.com/mindset. And remember, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. And with the Mindset Makeover, you can make it something extraordinary. All right, so let me offer you some relief right now. If stress knocks you off center, it doesn't mean that you're losing progress. It just means that you found your edge. And edges, well, that's where growth really happens. Your reactions are not proof that the work isn't working. They're just feedback. They show you where integration is still needed. So this brings us to the stress mirror reframe. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Try asking, what is the stress revealing? Stress is a mirror. It shows you where your nervous system feels unsafe. It shows which patterns still run automatically. It shows what hasn't been integrated yet. Look, this isn't about self-judgment. It's about self-study. And that is the absolute key to mastery. All right, so this is the point where we're going to slow down and make this usable. There are two different moments to work with stress. First, in the moment stress. This is when your heart rate is up and your thoughts are racing. Your goal here is regulation, not resolution. So ask yourself, what do I feel in my body right now? Where is there tension? What would help me feel just 10% more settled? Now, that might be slowing down your breath, unclenching your jaw, grounding your feet, pausing before responding. You're not fixing the problem. You're just stabilizing the system. Now, the second is the after-the-moment reflection. And this is where the real growth happens. Later, not in the heat of the moment, ask yourself, what triggered me? What story did my brain tell me? What was I trying to protect? What pattern showed up? Now, this turns stress from an enemy into a teacher. So here's a simple practice that you can use this week. Let's call it the stress debrief. After a stressful moment, write down the situation, your reaction, the story that you told yourself, one alternative interpretation. Look, you're not forcing positivity. You're widening your perspective. And that's how conditioning slowly rewires. All right, in the rest of the series, we're going to explore why your emotions hijack your logic, how stress sabotages your decision-making, why burnout is a boundary problem, how conflict becomes a nervous system collision, why willpower collapses when you're depleted, and how to rebuild when life forces a reset. But it all starts right here, with understanding that your mindset isn't weak, it's just human. All right, remember that stress doesn't mean that you're doing life wrong. It means life is asking more of you than your current system can support. But keep in mind that systems can be strengthened. So the next time stress knocks you sideways, remember that you're not failing the test. You're learning what the test is made of. And that is where real mastery begins. All right, if this episode resonated with you, please share it with somebody who's been a little hard on themselves lately. And make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in the Real Life Stress Test series. So until next time, remember, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So make it great. Thanks for tuning in. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind you that the information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional advice or treatment. While the content of this podcast is based on research and personal experience, everyone's situation is unique, and the advice given may not be applicable to all. Always consult a qualified professional before making significant changes in your life. The Personal Mastery and Growth podcast is recorded at the So Good Media Studios, located in the Candy Factory, a co-working space in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.